Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Awesome Sunday Show. This is Connor speaking.
Pat?
And thanks for joining us again on this lovely, lovely Sunday night. So, Patrick, there's a difference between DC and Marvel, just besides with superheroes and stuff like that, and the mythos. Marvel tends to not talk a lot, right?
That's pretty fair. They market and they give tidbits, but they're also pretty secretive.
Yeah, which is great. So,
I appreciate it.
One thing, so Batman vs. Superman comes out in March.
Yeah.
I am excited
About 2 months
for it,
away.
but I also know a lot about it.
Way too much.
So, like, let's just go over some recent news. Or, I mean, again, a lot of stuff is kind of already well known,
Yeah.
but just like how the creators and everybody are saying, oh, by the way, so and so is making a cameo appearance.
Yeah. They're just like, instead of letting us watch it as it's happening, they're just like, oh, yeah, he's going to be here. He's going to be here. This is going to happen. Oh, here in the trailer, you can see the third act. Oh, wait, no, now there's going to be a fourth act. We won't tell you who the major villain is, but we'll show you in an Empire magazine with a giant clue as to who it is.
Yeah, it's just so stupid. And yeah, it's so, and like in contrast too, like we have Marvel who like legally can't really show Spider-Man in their trailers.
Yeah.
But yet it works out better. I don't want to see Spider-Man until the movie.
I know, exactly. I was saying the same thing last night to Dom. Like, I was telling him, he goes, I saw one, like, concept of what Spider-Man looks like, and I don't like it. It's just, like, him in a hoodie. And I had to tell him, I said, no, that's not real. That's just what, like, it's a concept that somebody released, but not Marvel. It's not Marvel official because they can't. Yeah, like, they legally can't show it, and, like, people are upset that they didn't see Spider-Man in Civil War trailer. First of all, it was their first trailer.
Yeah.
Second of all, he's the biggest surprise for the movie because, they almost didn't get him.
Yeah.
And now legally that they can't show him in any of the promotions or the trailers or anything of the sort, people want to see it more. And I want to see it more.
Yeah.
Aside from just seeing Spider-Man in a Marvel movie, especially Civil War. But like you said, I'd much rather wait for the movie to see it. I have no problem. I actually am more excited to wait to see it than I am to see it right now in terms of seeing Spider-Man.
Right. And so, like, going into this, so like again, a stark contrast from Batman versus Superman. So, like, it's just like I granted, like, a lot of people argue this. It's like, well, a lot of the superhero movies are the same. And yeah, that's true, but like, it's even though it's a similar 3-act structure of what happens, it's how it happens is what's exciting.
Yes.
So, and like I know how it happens. Like, it's just so, I feel like I've seen the movie. The trailers, we went over this before in the previous episodes. The trailer was not good.
No, it was a terrible trailer that shouldn't have gotten released.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from it just being a poorly put together trailer, like the end of the trailer giving away the third act and how the third act comes to be, and then the Zack Snyder and then all the producers just like spewing out every bit of information and all these interviews they're doing about who's going to be in it, how much we're going to see them. There's a fourth act with another villain who is going to be the villain.
How do you have
of
a
Justice
fourth
League.
act?
I don't know. And like it's just going to probably be like 2 seconds too. You can't even make a full fourth act of a movie that's not even 2.5 hours.
Yeah. It's not 2.5 hours?
Or more than 2.5 hours. I don't know exactly how long it is, but it's no longer than 2.5 hours. I'll look it up now, but
yeah, like,
still, you can't do that without rushing it.
Yeah, and now there's going to be scenes that are just like, I don't know. If it's a 4-act movie, which never works.
No.
And it's like the Hobbit, like the third Hobbit movie was like a 4-act movie, and that movie was garbage. One of the reasons why is because there was way too much to it, and like that movie was like 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's 2 hours and 31 minutes.
2.5 hours. Excuse me. excuse me, 2.5 hours. And four acts. Yeah,
It's
like
not going to work because it's just going to be rushed to include a fourth act.
yeah, that's like 40 minutes an act almost.
Yeah.
Not even.
It's a problem because like aside from
Oh no, I'm sorry, less than that. That's like, oh no, that's yeah. Not even. It's not. It's like 35 minutes an act.
yeah, and aside from just trying to squeeze in 4 acts, the amount of stuff they're trying to squeeze in just to set up the Justice League in one movie is crazy. Like there were some complaints against Age of Ultron of how much they crammed in. And granted, they did cram in a lot, and they cut the runtime that would have made it more seamless to fit all that stuff. But, like, even that is still small compared to what they're squeezing in.
Yeah.
This. They're squeezing in their main Justice League squad, with the exception of Green Lantern. And they're going to show them maybe with or without their powers already. And they're going to give them minuscule screen time, but they're going to force it on you. And then the fourth act is supposed to be another villain. The main conflict of the movie initially is going to be Batman and Superman and their conflicting ideologies fighting each other, which is really the only major conflict they need.
Yes.
And then you have Lex Luthor. Great. That makes sense. That's fine. And then they throw in Doomsday. And then in this fourth act, a new villain who
is probably Darkseid.
It's probably Darkseid.
Which
it's almost guaranteed to be Darkseid because in the trailer you see like the post-apocalyptic like nightmare scene that Batman has. You see the parademons. Those are Darkseid's squad. And then in the Empire magazine that like press release that came out recently, they show the Omega symbol, which is Darkseid's like his symbol.
Yeah, they confirmed it. They confirmed that it's Darkseid.
That they're like trying to dance around it. Like, why would you do that?
You're pretty much like it just shows more and more that they're trying to play catch up to Marvel because literally Darkseid is the DC version of Thanos.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird that they would do like they're literally doing the same thing.
Granted, Thanos is a younger character than Darkseid, but like still
yeah, exactly. He's the DC version of
of Thanos, and it's just that's so annoying. Like they could have done something so much cooler and so much more different, and it just shows me more and more that DC's not willing to take the risk and just trying to do what Marvel's doing, but faster.
Yeah, because they have to play catch up, and
they shouldn't have played catch up. They should have done their own thing, and they should have done take as much time as they needed.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's fine. Because like as much as I hate to admit it, the Marvel train will end at one point. It's who knows when.
It's debatable.
Like who knows? But I'm saying who knows when. It could be 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Do you really want to look back and be like, yeah, dude, I can't believe DC rushed these movies? Or do you want to look back when we're like 40 and be like, yeah, dude, like remember like it was 2017 when like Batman or like when the Batman movie came out, or like remember in like 2019 when the Aquaman movie came out. Like honestly, at this point, like I wouldn't care if if it was like when does Justice League come out?
2017.
Yeah, I don't care if Justice League comes out in 2020. I would rather wait for Justice League to come out in 2020.
Well, Justice League Part 2 comes out in 2019, which is stupid because it's Justice League Part 1 and Part 2. And they're doing it 2 years apart.
Yeah.
Like Avengers Infinity War is split up into 2 parts, except they take place like within 10 months. They're going to be released like within 10 months of each other. Not even a full year. That makes sense. But like to put 2 years between that in something that you're already rushing to do.
It's just such
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And they're showing individual movies of characters who are going to be already in Justice League Part 1. And then they're going to their original movies. And if it's Part 1 and Part 2 means it's a continuation of each other.
Yeah, I just feel like...
So they're just going to go like backwards.
Dude, I just feel like the DC universe, or the DC extended universe, as is what they're putting it. It's essentially just it's like a live version of like Project X. It's a last minute huge party, and they're trying to get everything there, and it just end up being going to be a huge disaster.
Yeah.
And do I want that? No. I want DC to be just as successful as Marvel. I want their movies to work. I want their movies to be great. I'm not wishing any ill will. I hope I'm 100% wrong. Like, I want to sit there and be like, wow, I was proven wrong. I was completely entertained. I can't wait to see what DC does. Because in all honesty, like, you need competition. Like Coke needs its Pepsi. You know, McDonald's needs its Burger King. Marvel needs its DC.
Marvel's really own competition was Fox so far. Like, the Dark Knight trilogy was kind of its own thing. It really didn't directly compete with Marvel.
At all, because it appealed to a wider audience.
Yeah, it was much different. It wasn't a universe.
Yeah.
It was just a franchise whereas you have like X-Men and Fantastic Four. Granted, each Fantastic Four movie, including the most recent one, bombed and could never set up a universe, but like X-Men, they're having their 6th X-Men movie come out, along with they had 2 Wolverine movies. There's going to be another one, and then Deadpool, and then they're planning on having Deadpool at some point interact with the next batch of X-Men movies, and then they got Gambit coming. So like that's their real
if it ever comes.
Which it's supposed to start filming in March to get released in October or November. That's not going to happen. No. It's going to get pushed back. And then you had Sony with Spider-Man, which, you know, the first Spider-Man franchise was hugely successful.
Yeah,
Spider-Man
for good reasons.
Spider-Man 3 sucked balls. And then the Amazing Spider-Man series could have and should have been much bigger, but they fucking blew it.
Well, the first one was good.
I liked the first one a lot.
Yeah, the first one was great. I loved how how Gwen Stacy just like wasn't sitting there screaming. She actually helped out.
Exactly.
And like she wasn't an idiot. She was smart and she was resourceful.
Right.
And then like, yeah, I didn't like I wasn't a huge fan of the costume, but the lizard was great.
See, I kind of like the costume. It was very Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, but it just kind of I just wasn't personally a fan of it. I like the costume more in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like that movie.
That movie was terrible. That's why.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like the lizard. I was very excited for Lizard. I think they did that well. And
I think Spider-Man 3 is better than Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Sadly, yeah.
Because you know what it is? There's elements of like Amazing Spider-Man 2 just essentially kind of like, I don't know, Peter Parker was just like way too whiny. And like the elements that made the Amazing Spider-Man 1 good was just somehow like a misstep in 2 because of like how much they tried to fit in.
Yeah.
Because at least like even though Amazing Spider-Man 3 has too many villains in it, there's some elements of greatness.
Spider-Man 3.
Or I'm sorry, Spider-Man 3. Geez, like, and now there's gonna be another Spider-Man trilogy. Like, at least in Spider-Man 3, like there's elements of like a good movie. I think like to the original vision that Sam Raimi wanted, because we all know that Venom was added in last minute.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi didn't want that.
Right.
I think if Sam Raimi really wanted his vision and his version of the movie, I think it would have been a much better movie.
Yeah,
than we would have gotten.
That's an example of the studio fucking with it.
Which like because the scenes between Sam Raimi wanted the black Spider-Man suit.
Yeah.
Which is fine. He like that's and like what happened to him is what DC's doing to their movies. Sony pretty much said, no, you're doing this and we're forcing this, and it was going in way too much at one time.
Yeah.
And now like that's kind of like what DC's doing with their movies. They're doing way too much at one time, and I'm just afraid it's gonna blow up in their faces. You know, because like you watch the scenes in Spider-Man 3 of between the Sandman and Spider-Man, they're excellent. They're so good, and then they're just bogged down by like a dancing scene, which is funny. I don't think it's as stupid as everyone says it is, but it's not good. And then like Venom, who honestly is one of the coolest comic book villains of all time, and he sucks in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't help that they cast Eric Foreman in it.
Yeah, who's not a bad actor, just not the right part. And
should not. Yeah.
And Topher Grace, Eric Foreman, like that. He'll always be that. But like the reason why I draw that analogy is just like I feel like that's just like a smaller example of what DC is what's going to happen to DC.
Mm-hmm.
Again, do I want it to happen to DC? No. Like it's just from what I see. We've been watching comic book movies for a long time now.
Yeah.
We pretty much grew up with them. Since I've been excited for comic book movies since I saw X-Men in 2000.
Yeah.
And granted, there were good ones before that, absolutely. But X-Men was really the pioneer of summer comic book movies.
Yeah, definitely. It started the new
Wave
of it.
Yep.
And
We have Bryan Singer to thank for that.
Yeah. Yeah, although I'm still pissed at him for X3 for leaving X3 to go make a crappy Superman movie. But
Yeah.
whatever. I mean,
I
he's
still don't think
more
that-
than made up for it.
Yeah, I still don't think that movie's as bad as people say, but it's still not
X3?
good. No.
Superman
Actually,
Returns?
X3, I don't think is as bad as everyone says it is, even though there are some cringeworthy scenes. And Superman Returns, I don't think is as bad as everyone says
It's
it
not.
is.
It should have been better. It's not terrible, but
It's just
whatever.
it's just boring.
Mm. And X3, I personally think is pretty damn bad. I think they failed with a huge storyline with the Phoenix on it.
Yeah,
They fucked that up.
yeah, like I'm sorry, but like
Brett
Brett
Ratner's not a good director.
he's a good comedy director. He's good. He's good at like the Rush. I love the Rush Hour movies,
Yeah.
and I didn't see Tower Heist, but I heard it was funny. And I mean, I haven't seen Hercules, but I don't know.
You need to.
Do I? Yeah. Do I need to? I'm sure it's not a terrible movie either. I think it's got like a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. But like again, I don't need to see it. If it's on HBO, I'll watch it.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, and then like the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 were supposed to set up a Spider-Man shared universe with like broadening its its villain base. Like they were gonna make a Sinister Six movie
And an Aunt May movie.
and an Aunt May spy movie, which would have been terrible. I'm glad that's not happening because the premise of that was terrible.
Aunt May is literally like that's another thing actually too that I didn't like in the Amazing Spider-Man series or the movie series is I understand they wanted to have like stronger female characters, which is fine. That's great. That should happen. But like Aunt May was a little overplayed.
Yeah.
She's not in the comics. She's a motherly figure.
Not much else.
Not really much else, which is fine because that's kind of what Peter. Because later on, when like, in the comics, when she's passing away, like Peter needs that. Like that.
Yeah.
Peter, it's you get a sense of Peter's mother dying. Whereas like she's so overplayed in the movie series that like you get a feeling it's an aunt that took care of her nephew.
Yeah.
That's like wanting him to feel like I'm your mother when like he doesn't feel that way. Where it didn't work that, and it didn't really work that well in the movies. Where in the comics, it's like Peter thinks of his Aunt May as his mother.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's like there's a lot of emotional turmoil. I think is that during? I forget what saga that's during. It's like it was around like the 90s Spider-Man with like the Maximum Carnage stuff. But
oh God, I wish how they would make Carnage, bring him into the next Spider-Man series.
Oh.
I fucking love Carnage.
But that's the thing though too is like he's a hard villain to set up because he's like a Venom. Like you can't just throw him in there.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's villains you can just throw in because it makes sense to throw them in, but there's also villains that need build up because of origin wise. Like unless you're doing Ultimate Spider-Man, which the symbiotes are I'm pretty sure are lab experiments, but I'm also not too familiar with Ultimate. If you're doing original, you have to have like pretty much the Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Which they can do, actually, now that I think about it. Because Spider-Man, they can do Secret Wars.
They can, but I think if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Marvel. Unless they...
No, that's what I'm saying. Marvel can do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they can do that. Actually, I think they share with Sony possession of the Skrulls. I think they share that ownership, like in terms of the rights.
Yeah.
Like how Sony has Fox and Marvel share like Quicksilver. So they could do that, and then hopefully the partnership between Sony and Marvel doesn't stop with Civil War and then the next Spider-Man movie. Like they actually start, can borrow bits and pieces from each universe, have some characters go here instead of like combining the universes. Just take some from this one, put it with this one.
Yep.
So that'd be cool. But like, just imagine how cool if they do Carnage right, how cool it would be, and then to have Venom and Spider-Man team up to fight Carnage.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That's what I feel like but then yet again, like Spider-Man's young. Like you can't that's not a teenage Spider-Man tale.
I know, which sucks, which is why that's one of the reasons why I don't want a teenage Spider-Man. because there's so many good things that happen once
Yeah.
he's in college and in his 20s.
Yeah, but but also too, like, let's not forget, like, how long are we gonna have Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, Mark Ruffalo, like, before they're like, all right, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, Marvel and Disney can be throwing them paycheck after paycheck, but at a point where it's just like, I have so much money, I don't even care.
Yeah.
And which is pretty much Robert Downey Jr. And like, how often, like, where it's like, all right, like, we got to move forward. And like, I almost kind of was like, I don't mind if they take like a 6-year break with Captain America, and it's just like, we're doing our Spider-Man series, and like, this is how we're progressing them. And it's like, it's not going to be those actors forever playing those roles.
No,
We had to
obviously.
come to accept that. Like, especially probably Iron Man pretty soon. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like they're going to give him Iron Man 4 anytime soon.
yeah, which I'm sure he's fine with.
That's why he wanted to be so heavily featured in Civil War.
Because there's no Iron Man 4.
Yeah. Like, they haven't planned to make an Iron Man 4, which he was fine with. But, like, aside from just keeping him in Avengers, before the newest Captain America was supposed to be Civil War, it was said they were planning on it being something else. And he was going to make, like, not a small appearance, but, like, being a small part of the movie, like maybe like 20, 30 minutes, something like that.
Right.
And then he's like, well, why don't we just, like, set it up to be like this? Like, give me a larger part in the movie, and then we could set up Civil War. And that's what happened.
Yeah, that's great. And see, like, that's why that's part of Marvel's success, is that, like, their timing is, like, perfect. Not all the time, but it's very good.
And their planning.
And their planning is great. And then, like, going back to DC with Batman vs Superman, you have Batman vs Superman.
Don't need anything else.
Yeah, you don't need anything else. I like, as much as it's cool that Wonder Woman's in there, and I like that Wonder Woman's in there.
I agree.
But like, in all honesty, like, it's literally Batman vs Superman with Wonder Woman. And
Aquaman's in it, and then
and
Cyborg
Aquaman
and Flash.
Cyborg. Yeah, like, it's just, I am so pessimistic about this movie.
And, like, one of the other reasons that they're cramming so much in, aside from just catching up, is because they decided to make it the Dawn of Justice.
yeah,
So this is literally, like, that's exactly what it is. It's just a setup movie. It's not, like, supposed to bring 2 to 3 characters together. It's literally setting up.
and there are and that's already, like,
instead of, like, what Marvel did with, like, how many individual hero movies before the Avengers.
yeah. And granted, like, they technically are set up movies, but they don't acknowledge it. They still, like, give them. They still have the, like, they still have the dignity to be like, hey, this is still a standalone movie. Whereas, like, with Zack Snyder even said, Dawn of Justice is Superman 2. They're like, hey, don't worry, like, it's coming. Like, no. Like, I wish they didn't call it Dawn of Justice. I wish they just called it Batman vs Superman.
That's all they needed.
That's all they needed. They're doing too much. They are doing way too much. They're trying to, like, I don't know. I just feel like they're, know what this is to me? Remember that show, like, Wild and Wacky Races?
Yes.
Remember the guy, the villain, and I don't want to say DC's a villain, but, like, remember the villain that always would try to do crazy things to try to catch up to the other racers?
Yeah.
And, like, kidnap Penelope?
Mm-hmm.
If he just raced, he would have been fine.
Yeah, that's true.
He never had to do anything else. He always did way too much. And all the other racers that just did their own thing would either win or have a good job. And, like, all you just need to do is relax and go at a nice pace. That's
Right.
all you need to do.
Right. Instead of cramming it into 2 years.
Yeah,
really.
it just.
And, like, you made a good point. Like, Marvel, yeah, obviously every Marvel movie sets up a future movie, but their main goal is a standalone movie. And then the secondary goal of it is to set up and build up the universe itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually takes place at the end, or even, like, more so the after credit scenes than anything else, other than small elements throughout the entire movie. They're not shoving a whole bunch of, shit down your throat at once.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's this. They're doing it the right way. I think DC's getting too ahead of itself because it's so desperate to catch up. And, they probably would have been fine had they not made a shitty Green Lantern movie that was supposed to set up the universe in the first place.
Yeah, but it was bad.
Which doesn't make sense to begin with, and then it was a terrible movie.
Which is unfortunate. That's not really their fault, kind of.
It was a terribly rushed production with a lot of studio interference, and then, I don't even know what the hell happened. It's like 4 different movies in one.
Yeah, it is.
And how
which
much
sucks because Ryan
changes.
Reynolds is kind of good for the part.
I thought he was a good Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the executive producers and showrunners of Flash, Arrow, and Supergirl, Greg Berlanti, Andrew Kreisberg, and Mark Guggenheim, were all producers and wrote the original draft of that. And now look at them; their TV universe is huge. They're so well received and everything. They're doing a great job
because they don't have anybody.
TV. They don't well, they do get a lot of shit from Warner Brothers. Like something happened on Arrow the other day. Well, twice over the last season. This was the second time that you can tell DC and Warner Brothers was you have to get rid of this character because we don't want confusion with the Suicide Squad movie. And it's stupid because way more people are going to see the movie than who watched the TV show.
Yeah.
And those people who watch the TV show
know that it's a
different person and it's not connected. And DC has said it, they're separate. We treat them as a multiverse of each other, so things can happen in both of them. They're not really treating them like that because of some of the decisions they're forcing on the TV show, which really pisses me off.
Yeah. And it's look at your comics.
Yeah.
There is if you want to have not confusing, look at your comics.
I know. I don't know what they're doing. And you know what? Fox has messed up a little bit, but they've still made up for it.
Yeah.
With the X-Men franchise, with the exception of X3. And then now with Deadpool, which I'm sure is going to be a huge deal and hopefully is as great as it looks.
I can't wait for that movie.
I can't wait. Only a couple weeks. Or no, 2 weeks.
Less, because it's January 31st right now.
Okay,
February 12th.
13
days. 13 days, dude.
Which I'm extremely excited for.
Yeah, I know. And you know what it is, too? With that movie, I'm not... I look at Rotten Tomatoes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And because... And I know a movie that's 75% doesn't mean it's better than a movie that's 93%.
Right.
Because a movie that's 93% can get 7s across the board, but it still has a 93%, So
because they're determined there is based on the amount of reviews and critics they pile in for that movie who like it. It's not overall score. It's not
which is why Metacritic is whatever. I don't like Metacritic, but I mean, it's all right, but with Rotten Tomatoes, it's more fair because, and also too, you kind of get that mentality.
Yeah.
And with Deadpool, dude, if that movie gets a 50, that wouldn't bother me because I just feel that movie might not be for everybody.
Right.
It's actually kind of just made for a certain audience.
That's exactly what it is.
It's made for people who do love comics and love Deadpool and I just feel that's not going to cater critically, so I don't even care what it reviews. It's one of the few movies where I'm I don't really care what reviews this gets.
Right.
Not saying I'm not going to not see a movie that gets bad reviews, but I'm not going to go rush to go see it.
Depending on what it is, but there's a lot of movies who get bad Rotten Tomatoes ratings that you can just tell are from the trailers or general reaction yeah, I get that it's that bad. But then there's also movies who have high percentages that are not so great.
They just were
one reason or another, or they're just not for you.
Yeah.
There's plenty of movies that aren't so well rated on Rotten Tomatoes that I enjoy.
Yeah, but it's movies that we would like.
Yeah.
I don't know, that movie Wolf Creek. Did you ever see that?
No.
Came out early 2000 or mid early 2000s. It's an Australian horror movie, and it's about a guy that literally just pretty much hunts down these group of kids, or it's really just 3 people on a road trip through Australia with a sniper rifle, kidnaps them. The movie was very poorly received, but horror fans really love that movie. Me and Damien really like it. I feel like Deadpool might be the same way. Like, not saying it's going to get killed critically, but I just feel like it's made for a certain audience. So again, I could be wrong. It could get a 95%. I hope it does.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to like let bad score reviews like hinder me from seeing this movie opening day, cuz I know I have a feeling it's made for people like us.
Exactly. I think it's one of those ones that's explicitly made for the fans, and the only reason it happened was because of the test footage. It was greenlit within 24 hours because of the fan reaction to it.
Yep.
And like the test footage was made by the guy who wrote and directed this movie, and Ryan Reynolds has been obsessed with this role ever since they first.
He's been calling for it for years since
Since
X-Men
even before.
Wolverine. Yeah, before that, yeah. Before X-Men
was-
Origins Wolverine.
What, like 2005 or 6? Like,
Oh no, it was later than that.
all right, well, whatever.
I think like 2008 or something like that.
Okay, so, but yeah, for longer than 8 years, at least like 10 to 12 years, he's been trying to get it off the ground. And so he's put so much heart in it, and he is so invested in the character that he wants this to be like a great movie for Deadpool fans.
Yes,
Like,
and
you
I
can
feel
tell
like that's
him
what
and
a
the
little
writer
bit.
and director like just care about it so much that, and Fox knows like it has some making up to do with its fans because of
Fantastic.
Four, that they're not gonna, that they haven't like fucked with it.
Yeah.
As far as we know, so that's why I have confidence in it that I'm gonna enjoy it regardless.
Yeah,
of-
I suppose I'm gonna enjoy it a lot. Yeah, it's just I guess I just want DC to take their time. I'm not dying anytime soon, you know.
hopefully.
Well, hopefully, I don't know.
Yeah. And then like, yeah, I think DC's rushing. Hopefully they don't get way too ahead of themselves. Like, I want to love Batman v Superman and the rest of the DC universe. It's just right now they're making me less and less excited for it with all these things that they're saying they're throwing in it. That, and that they're just giving us all this information right now instead of just letting us watch the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, let me watch the movie. One thing DC has done fantastic, though, is I really got to give them credit, is they've got a wonderful cast.
Yes.
Ben Affleck as Batman, amazing choice, and I've said that from day one. People have been crying about it.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
it's a great choice.
This is, everybody's going to like, everybody who was against it to begin with is now, their minds are going to change. Easily.
Yeah, even if the movie's not good, I feel like he's going to be good in it. And if it's true that that Ben Affleck is directing a Batman movie and starring in it,
I'd be so excited for that.
yeah, no, that would, to me, because he's also too like, I wanted that too, because he's the type of director where if like a studio tells him something, he's going to be like, no.
Yeah, he's gonna be like, you see my Academy Award?
Yeah,
Nah,
yeah, he
that's
just has to
all
hold
right.
up the Oscar. He's like, I can make decisions.
Yeah,
Leave me.
exactly. And like, yeah, DC, I mean, Marvel does a great job too, but DC has so far made some great casting choices. Like, Henry Cavill is an awesome Clark Kent and Superman.
Yeah. Oh, he's a great actor.
He was the best part of Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Although Michael Shannon was also great as Zod, but I mean, and then Gal Gadot, I mean, we haven't really gotten anything from her in terms of like an actual full performance. Seen her in the trailer, and then in the Wonder Woman footage, which is also looks really cool. She looks just like Wonder Woman
Yeah.
would look like if she was, you know, the real adaptation. I think that was a great casting choice. And then Jared Leto as Joker,
Great casting choice.
great casting choice. They made it. He's a really good actor. They made a good decision.
He's
with that.
kind of starting to warm up on me a
'Cause
little
that's-
bit. His look.
I like his look except for the tattoos, but specifically the damage tattoo. I think that's gay, but like the way he looks, his except for the really flamboyant like him with that huge overcoat and no shirt under it, it's kind of lame. But like the rest in the new Suicide Squad trailer, like the rest of his act, his wardrobe, and then how he's acting, and like he looks great. And I know he's going to give a great performance
Yeah.
regardless. It's just those cosmetic features that I don't like.
Yeah.
And it's not going to change my opinion of his performance. I know he's going to do great. It's just, in my opinion, I don't like those.
It's starting to warm up on me. It's just because you know what it is. It's like I look through my Batman comics, and like, while yes, there's a lot of versions of the Joker, they look different, but they are also very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm starting to warm up to it more and more because I'm like, you know what? I'm not saying I like it, but I'm just kind of glad they're doing something out of left field
Yeah.
because every Joker, I mean, you even look at Heath Ledger, while he's the most radically different Joker, it's still kind of the same.
Yeah, more or less.
It's because the only reason why he has scars on his lips is because that Batman movie franchise, the Nolanverse one, is grounded in reality as much as you can. Bane punches a pillar and breaks the pillar. You can't see that in real life. Your hand would shatter. But again, those movies are grounded in reality, like 99% of the time. So that's why they did that. If that movie wasn't grounded in reality, he would have the big smile.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that they're doing Jared Leto like this and they're coming way out of left field with him, I like that they're doing that because for a production company and that's making these movies that we just complained about not taking their time and not taking risks, it's a risk.
Yeah.
So it's like after, like, I guess, like, while I had more positive things to say about Batman vs Superman in the beginning, and then more negative things to say about Jared Leto as a Joker, it's kind of flip flop because I realized now it's like, dude, like, they're not really being that original, and they're kind of just trying to play catch up with Marvel. It's almost like it's warming to see. It's like, oh, at least like there's somebody willing to take a risk.
Yeah.
And that's why it's kind of like
that they have such an accomplished director with David Ayer, who's made some fantastic movies.
Fury was incredible.
Fury, Training Day.
Training Day is great too.
End of Watch. And like, his movies are all very different.
Yeah.
And he has taken risks before, and they've worked out well. So I have faith in him as a director.
Yeah.
And like, the initial trailer put me off, and just cosmetically, I don't like the tattoos. That's my only complaint against Jared Leto's Joker. And, you know, it's a big risk using the Joker again after Heath Ledger's Oscar-winning performance, like how amazing it was. But they made a great decision with the actor they chose. And then I think Margot Robbie is a great decision for Harley Quinn.
Yep, great.
She's a terrific actress, and in this trailer, she looks awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then Viola Davis is the perfect Amanda Waller, in my opinion. Like, when the rumor was they were going to cast Oprah, I was really disappointed. And I'm glad they didn't.
Stupid.
I know. Because
Oprah's not a bad actress, though. Did you ever see The Color Purple?
Yeah, but, like, you know, it just would have been looking at it like, oh, Oprah's in this as Oprah.
Yeah.
Kind of how I feel like so far about Will Smith being Deadshot. So far in the trailers, they just had him as Will Smith, not as Floyd Lawton Deadshot.
Right.
You know what I mean? Although, like, the other casting in that, like, that I'm on the fence about is Jai Courtney. Although I think that he's finally cast in a role that he could be good at because he's a crazy Australian.
Yeah.
And that's what he is in real life.
And Captain Boomerang.
Yeah. So, like, that's fine. And then Enchantress, I don't really agree with the casting for that. Cara Delevingne or whatever.
I don't know.
I think she's kind of very wooden in her performances that I've seen her in. Not that she's been in a lot, but
yeah,
whatever. The rest of the movie seems pretty good. Common's in it, which I actually didn't know about until like last week.
I didn't know that either at all until you just said that.
The tattooed man, I think I forget what the character's real name is, but that's like what he's going to go by. But, you know, I have a lot of hope for it. That second trailer was way better than the first one.
Yep.
And them using Bohemian Rhapsody in it, like, just fit what they're going for.
Yeah, it was great. It was the second trailer was better.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that the Suicide Squad movie is benefiting more as a standalone movie than Batman v Superman is so far.
Absolutely. I'm actually, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, you know what? I think I kind of want to see Suicide Squad more than Batman v Superman.
And I originally didn't care for it, and you know,
our minds have kind of changed.
Kind of, yeah. So like, and then like before we started recording this, I was showing Connor this list from ScreenRant.com, and it says why the DC Extended Universe will reign supreme. So I'm just going to say the reasons, and then
we're going to complain about it.
The characters.
It's a great list.
The characters, yes. Obviously, DC has some great characters.
DC
some great
superheroes
heroes.
are known to be more popular than Marvel's.
But Marvel also has great characters. That's
I think
that's a
Marvel has
wash.
better characters. That's just opinion. That's just
yeah.
my opinion. That
Well,
doesn't
like,
mean it's right. It's right.
You can't hold that over Marvel as like being better than Marvel. That's not true. A more fully formed world.
Not true.
Not true
There's
at
been
all.
one movie released so far.
Yeah, I don't understand how they
That-
can say that. That wasn't even fully formed itself.
Yeah, go on, because it gets better. It's like comical,
Hitting the ground running.
which is never a good thing.
No, it's not.
You know what happens? You know what happens if like whenever you see in movies and the motorcycle drops from the helicopter and the motorcycle just kind of like takes off. That's kind of like not really true. Like a motorcycle
Yeah.
has to start slow and then go fast, just like
Yeah.
any other vehicle. When you hit the ground running, it's kind of like you lose your balance
Yeah.
easily. That's not a good reason.
Yeah. More serious. That's not necessarily a good thing. Comic book movies are supposed to be fun. You know, like you can't be 100% serious and have like a.
You
You
can,
but
even the Dark Knight trilogy-
kind of like that. But there's still a lot of humor.
yeah, there was a great humor in it.
Like comic book movies are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be exciting, not just serious. An A-list cast, yes, they do have a pretty great cast. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
But not necessarily better than Marvel's. Like their cast is fantastic. They have some huge names in it. This one is probably the next two are probably the funniest. This one the most. More narrative cohesion.
Not true.
It literally could not be any less true for the same reason as the more fully formed world. You can't. Their only release so far that's actually come out was all over the place.
Yeah, that movie. The my biggest problem with that movie was the editing because it wasn't cohesive at all.
Exactly, and
I couldn't comprehend it.
and like from the look of that second trailer, that was not cohesive
Yeah,
together at all.
yeah.
That was like completely.
I almost feel like this is like a
mismatched.
joke.
And then like, but Screen Rant, it's a serious. They're not like a satirical.
Hey, listen, it's their opinion,
Yeah.
and like they're not wrong for thinking that if that's what they think. But like at the same time, I mean, I guess no, I can say I think they're wrong. I think they're wrong. Yeah, I think they're wrong.
That and like
I know they're not satirical, but like I almost still feel like it's a joke because it's like everything that most people have said they had a problem with so far as like things why they like it.
yeah.
Like, can I tell you a little story one time real
Sure.
fast? You ever see that movie Boogeyman?
Yeah.
It's one of the worst horror movies ever made.
Yes.
On the DVD cover I have, it's you know how like on covers they'll have like lines from critics and,
Yeah.
and quotations to say about the movie.
Uh-huh.
On the front of my DVD cover, if I could find it, I'll show it to you. It says "scariest movie ever made, ever." Quotations from whatever. Remember my buddy? Remember my friend John?
Mm-hmm.
And did you ever meet my friend Mike Botch?
I don't know.
Okay, so one time we watched the movie and we were like, we had it on DVD, or I had it on DVD. I don't know why I had it. I think someone bought it for me. We watched the movie. We're like, this is probably like the worst movie, one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
So we looked at the front cover. We're like, what critic said this? Like, what critic is like saying this seriously? So we looked it up online back when like Windows Vista was around.
Yeah.
And like, or it was, and
That's
like,
not too long ago.
it turns out that like the critic that was talking about the movie was being sarcastic, and it was like the line was like,
Yeah, and they
this
used
would
it
be
as if it
like
wasn't.
it was like he was being completely sarcastic. It was like a scathing negative
Yeah.
review, but like it almost like it's so bad it's good kind of review at the same time.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like when you're reading this to me, I get that same feeling, but it's not.
Yeah. And like for how much they're trying to squeeze into one movie so fast, there's no way it's going to be fully cohesive.
Yeah.
Like that's our main complaint about Batman v Superman is how much they're throwing in it and how they're doing a fourth act. Like they're not going to be able to make that superbly cohesive.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work like that.
Shout out to the real MVP that just walked in,
Nick Snyder.
Nick Snyder. Hey, Nick Snyder, come into the mic and say hello.
Hello, all.
All right. There's only actually there's four more.
There's four more. Read them off.
Comic book talent. No.
Yeah.
No. The only comic book talent they have going for it is Jeff Johns.
Who's awesome.
Who is awesome. He's made some amazing comics, and he's the chief creative officer. But
Yeah.
like Zack Snyder's the only related experience they have.
Yeah.
In this,
Well, but like it's true. Jeff Johns, like he's responsible for Blackest Night,
Yeah.
which is probably one of the greatest comic book story arcs of all time.
yeah, he's made some of the incredible ones, but like compared to Marvel's comic talent, no,
No,
I don't think so. I
but
think
Marvel's very good at choosing the directors too.
yeah, experimentation. Sure, they're experimenting. Like Suicide Squad is an experiment. It's
But yeah, it's
that's fair, I guess. but
semi-experiment. But Marvel's experimented too. Marvel experimented with Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the
still. That was
Galaxy
a huge risk.
is way more of a risk than Suicide Squad.
Well, yeah, because Suicide Squad is going to do well because Guardians of the Galaxy did well.
Yeah. It's
You know?
and again that's
'Cause it
actually
has
if
something
you
to
think
build
that's
off
not
of.
experimenting again they're saying something something weird worked for Marvel, let's try our like weird
Yeah.
thing like
Yeah. And I'm going to switch these reasons. The villains. Yes, DC has arguably better villains. They do have
Yeah.
some of the best villains of all time.
I agree with that. Even as a
But-
Marvel fan, I think DC villains are much better.
Marvel has some great villains, and they haven't even used all their like number one villains yet and fully formed all their villains.
Mm-hmm.
They have used some great villains though.
They have. Ronan was awesome.
Ronan was awesome, and we haven't got a lot of Thanos. Thanos is going to be incredible, especially
Loki
with
was
Josh
great.
Brolin. Loki is awesome.
Yeah.
There's, undeniably. Winter Soldier and Hydra were great. I loved Red Skull.
Red Skull was great. I mean, like, and was there some duds? Yeah, like Whiplash was a dud.
That was a big.
Ironmonger was a dud. In fact, it's really the Iron Man villains that were the duds, if you really think about it.
Yeah, I think Ironmonger was only good because of Jeff Bridges, to be honest.
Yeah.
Although Sam Rockwell was great as Justin Hammer.
I wish he was the A villain.
I know.
He was awesome. Like when he's just dancing on stage.
And then Ben Kingsley, before we find out he was a joke, was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, the villains that they're using right away in DC are amazing. There's no doubt about it. General
Right.
Zod, Joker, obviously.
Yeah, that's something that's very believable.
Yeah, and then the last reason is just Batman, and that's the last reason they give.
Yeah, that's like
Which I get
yeah.
it because he's one of, if not the most iconic superhero of
Yeah.
all time. But like that's not reason enough. Like,
Nope,
you have
it's
Captain
not.
America,
Yeah,
like alone, who has been
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Like,
Yeah.
and especially when Captain America came out, which was right around World War II, he literally punches Hitler in the face, making him a living icon for the rest of his
Yeah.
publication. So yeah, that I hope that list is satirical, but it's not, and I disagree with most of it, as we said. But yeah, that's about
That's about
all I
it.
have right now. Although I will, up until Daredevil and up until Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. caught its stride, DC killed television-wise.
Oh yeah.
Particularly with Arrow, because the first two seasons of Arrow were amazing. And then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. took a while to get its footing, but then it took off. And then Flash came out, which had a brilliant first season. His second season is just as great.
Yeah, second season is
And
just
then
great.
But then Daredevil came out,
Daredevil, I think, is the best out of all these shows.
blew everything out of the water.
Yeah.
And then Jessica Jones came out and was just as great.
Yeah, it's pretty much it's like having a party with like two of the fattest people, and they both did the greatest cannonballs.
that's,
Like,
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like Daredevil season 2 is coming out, and it's just gonna be, yeah. So Marvel took time catching up TV wise compared to, and now DC's trying to catch up movie wise. So they had
Yeah,
they had
but
their things
Marvel
going.
took their time.
Yeah, and they came out and just killed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about what we got right now.
Yeah, that's about it. Just we got another person walking in. It's actually a guest we've had on the show before. Remember the Star Wars episode, everybody?
Yes, obviously.
Here, Matt, come say hello in the mic.
Hi, everybody.
All right, so that about concludes the episode. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. Also follow us on Twitter. At Less Than Connor.
At Rick Pat Mick.
Also-
and then check out Connor's new
Yeah,
vlog, the couch review.
yeah.
You can find on his profile and include it in the description in this.
There's gonna be more shows coming in the future between the both of us, and probably other friends too.
Yeah, maybe if we like anybody.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. See you.
See. Ya.